It's Hollie's Hotspurs, welcome back. Talking Tottenham every week, no better place to be sat. If it's a win, lose, draw, we'll be here for a chat. Best believe we tackle topics like Romero in the back. Young Min Son, what can go wrong when he's on form? It's a dream come true, so sit back, relax and vibe with us. Special guests every time here to discuss. Bring your passion, come along for the ride, and don't forget to subscribe, cause...
Hello and welcome to another episode of Hollie's Hotspurs Live. Sadly, we do have to discuss the North London derby tonight, but I think it's going to be good therapy because I think we all kind of need it. But with me tonight to do so, I am joined by three fabulous guests. First of all, welcome back, Graham. It's amazing to have you on. I'm sorry, obviously, we've got to talk about a defeat tonight, but how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, still getting over yesterday, but listen, we didn't play well. I thought we did all right first half, but we didn't play well second half. And you gotta create chances and score them, and we didn't play at a high enough tempo.
No, agreed. And the thing is, in the North London derby, you need to show up at these games. Like you said, first half all right, second half not so great, but I'm sure we'll dissect it into more detail later on. But also joined by Sonny as well. Sonny, how are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I mean, it's a weird place at the moment, isn't it, being a Spurs fan? Because it's like there's bits there that are okay, but there's bits there that are not so okay, especially set pieces. But yeah, good to be, as you say, therapy, I think is the key word for today. Little dissection.
Indeed. It's been a little while since we've had a therapy session, so I guess it was kind of due one soon, and it so happens to be today. But we're also joined by Ben as well. Ben, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Obviously, pleasure to be on with Tottenham royalty and Graham, so it's great to be here and great to chat. Painful yesterday, painful kind of same mistakes coming back to bite us both in the attacking in the final third and in our own box as well, but looking forward to a little therapy session to go through it and chat through everything.
Indeed. And welcome to everybody else that's tuning in as well live. It's going to rewatch this, all this good stuff. Before we do jump in, I obviously want to say a big shout out to the tabletop as well. Obviously, we're still running the competition. We can win Subutio, some signed football cards and another game. They've also announced as well, if you use code HH10 in the link in the description below, you can also get 10% off. So make sure you go check them out as well. I'll probably do another little post so you can keep up to date with all of them too. But we're here to talk Tottenham Arsenal. So let's jump into it. Graham, I'm going to come to you first. Obviously, I just want your first initial reaction, obviously, when the final whistle went. How are you kind of feeling and what did you make of the game?
Yeah, I think we were all gutted. We had a great chance. They were without two or three of their players who usually play for them. But you know, you look at our team at the moment and we play lovely football. But at the moment, it's sort of, you get... the right winger, I forgot his Johnson, you know, he gets to the byline and he just whacks it. And it's the first man all the time. And it's frustrating because if he looks up, he can chip it. We got a big lad in centre forward now, you know, Solanke. He can head a ball. So, you know, I'm just not getting how we're coping at the moment. I just don't know how we're playing. Set pieces. You know, there's only Brentford who have conceded more goals from set pieces than us. And, you know, we love Ange. He's a breath of fresh air, but I think the coaches and everybody need to take some guilty over this result because, you know, they scored... Out of the last 4 goals they've scored against us, 3 of them have been set pieces. So there's something not right. You know, if you don't work on them and you don't stop it, then, you know, we're going to go through the season and we'll probably be the the club that concedes most set pieces, and that can't happen. You know, just pick up your man. What I see in the game at the moment is everybody cuddling each other, trying to stop them, and they're not concentrating on where the ball's coming in. If you concentrate and just go and attack that ball, you'll head the ball. You know, I played years ago, but football hasn't changed. If you go and attack the ball, you're going to head the ball. And I just don't get why everybody's cuddling each other. Maybe they're lovebirds or something, I don't know. But, you know, it's like... Oh, I'll cuddle you. You cuddle me when I go in your area. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, I was absolutely gutted yesterday. As I thought we had a great chance of beating them. I didn't think it was an exciting game. I didn't think it was a really end-to-end game. You know, they came for a 1-0 win. That's how they came. They deserved it because their defence we never hurt their defence at all. I think first half we had 2 or 3 in the first 10 minutes. And then it was Kulusevski with over the bar in the second half. That ain't good enough for Tottenham Hotspur.
Especially in the North London derby as well. You expected a bit more. And I think, Sonny, as well, the thing is as well, like we've already touched on, the fact that they were missing key players in Odegaard and in Rice, and to be playing them at Tottenham Hotspur as well, you would have thought we would have given a bit more fight, especially.
Yeah, I know. Graham will vouch for this as well. The bare minimum you want from your Tottenham players is fight, passion in a North London derby, and to, go into tackles meaning something. I know Ange before the game said about, this game is not, you've got to just win every game, but you've got to just see derbies, even when it's West Ham, Chelsea, they do mean a bit more to us Spurs fans. But yeah, it's just a weird situation at the moment. And, going into the game, we were deemed as to be like a bit of the favourites, but this Arsenal team are no mugs anymore. They turn up, they play this 4-4-2 away from home, they know how to defend, they knew what to do, they picked us off when they could. Martinelli should have really scored in the first half, but he's not on great form, and then they just get us from a set piece. And I'm a bit old school with set pieces as well. I feel I'm not a big fan of zonal marking. I just think you got to just pick your men up, and that's that. And Vicario, when he joined the club, I was a bit skeptical about him, but he proved me wrong early stages. But you want your keeper to be commanding, come and catch the balls, but also don't be stuck to your line from a corner. I just think that's obvious. But yeah, it's just a strange one with Spurs at the moment. I think an analogy that comes to mind is it's like we're a jigsaw puzzle, but we've lost the box. It's like we don't know what we're doing at the moment. And just you look at this, the forward line can make sense, and I think we can score goals with it, because that's the story of the season so far. It's like we've had all these chances, all this possession, but we haven't been able to find the back of the net. But you just see there were moments in this game, there were moments in the games that Solanke didn't start, that he's just asking for it, across, so many overhit crosses, underhit crosses. Talk about corners, defending them. We can't attack corners either. When we signed Maddison, I thought that's it. Our set pieces, free kicks are going to be, sublime, and we haven't seen much from it. Even Pedro Porro's delivery has been a bit poor from corners and set pieces when he's over them. So it's just a strange one. But the only, I'm a big fan of Ange Postecoglou, and I'm not enjoying the current atmosphere at the moment with people calling him out, and I know. Don't get me wrong, he deserves criticism, especially, set pieces need to be worked on. But I think, and it pains me to say, you just got to look at what happened with Arsenal at this stage under Arteta. They stood by him. And if you go back and see what the Arsenal fans were saying at this stage under Arteta, they were calling for him out. I know they won an FA Cup, so that sort of gave them a bit of, papered over some cracks, you could say. But he was able to develop his squad into what he wanted, get rid of the deadwoods, he got rid of Socrates and Mustafi and Louise. We've got rid of Højbjerg and people like that. So I just still think we need patience and just remember what was going on under Mourinho and Conte and Nuno. It's better than that. We just got to take the rough with the smooth sometimes, and just hope that against Coventry it will be, a good step in the direction of going far in a cup competition. And against Brentford, we hopefully pull out the stops and, get back to winning ways.
Definitely. I think the thing is, it just hurts. So I think it's the timing of it. The way that, obviously, Ben, we had 64 possession. We had those few early chances in the first half, and then it just kind of dwindled off to nothing, didn't it?
Yeah, I think I concur with a lot of what Graham and Sonny have said. I think a lot of it comes back to mentality and self-belief as well. I think some of the points that have been raised about people like Brennan Johnson, and look, I don't want to sit here and dig Brennan Johnson out too much. I think there's been a lot of that going on, to the point where he's deleted some of his social media accounts because of the abuse that he's been getting from certain sections of the fan base. But I do think he kind of demonstrates a little bit what is going wrong with the team. I think that the plan is clearly there. I think the game plan in that first half worked yesterday. I was excited to see Kulusevski and Maddison both play together. They were clearly there to get at Arsenal and win the ball back high up the pitch, turn it over and create chances that way. Because when, like Sonny says, if Arsenal are going to sit in that kind of 4-4-2 deep block with the best defence in the league. I think I saw something earlier that they've won 9 out of the last 10 away games in the league and kept clean sheets in 8 of them, which is staggering, really, when you think about it. And so it was always going to be hard to break them down. So I can live with Spurs not creating bundles and bundles of clear-cut chances yesterday, but we've got to be more ruthless in the moments that when we do turn them over. And again, I'm going to give Solanke the benefit of the doubt yesterday because I thought his overall play was actually very good. He gives the team that focal point that we need. But when Maddison and Sonny pinch the ball back off Ben White and that chance falls to him and he just takes a little bit too long to get his shot away, that's in the first 15 minutes. And if you go 1-0 up in a North London derby, they've got to then come out of that deep block and the game opens up and plays into Spurs' hands that little bit more. And that's when they do miss Odegaard because he's not able to get up the pitch and pull the strings in an attacking sense. I think as well, without Rice and Odegaard, the biggest thing that they were going to miss them for, rather than their play, because they ended up hurting us from a set piece, which neither of those two players are going to contribute that much to. I know Rice takes corners, obviously, but they've got quality of delivery elsewhere as well. And it's more the chaos that they let ensue kind of in the box, which is the problem. Yeah. And it's hard to deal with. It is hard to deal with. You look in the first half when they've got, 3 or 4 players at the back post wanting to make the run into the middle. It's hard to track. And I thought Spurs did quite well in the first half, but the goal it's not good enough. And I think that comes back to a lack of accountability and a lack of leadership and a lack of belief. Arsenal were without their captain yesterday, and then arguably without the player that probably would be the captain if Odegaard wasn't playing in Declan Rice. Jorginho was the captain for them, but you could have probably given the armband to Saliba, to Gabriel, maybe to Ben White as well. They've got leaders in that team. But I come back to what Sonny was saying there about Ange, and obviously
he's frozen.
I'm gonna.
No, but if you carry on, Ollie, you carry on from what Ben's saying. Vicario has to command that 6-yard box. After last year where he was getting knocked about, he should have come like yesterday and punched it. It's 3 yards out. He's headed it. And that's. I played with some great goalkeepers like Ray Clements, Peter Shilton, and Chris Woods, all England internationals. And if you went inside that 6-yard box, you got a black eye. But that's what it was. They just came through you. They didn't care who it was. They would come through you. Their knee would be in your back, and you'd be on the ground going, God, I'm not going in there next time. But Vicario is good. But he's good at having a go at young players and players. Concentrate on his games. He's always waving his arms. He's a good goalkeeper. But at this time, every team is finding the weakness when we get a set piece. And he's got to dictate that area. That's his game. In that area is where he dictates everything. And if he can get stronger and dictate to the centre half, keep out, let me come, he'll be a much better goalkeeper.
I think so as well. And obviously, sorry, Ben, you cut out a bit and kind of...
Ben got frozen.
I was going on to. I was going to say, actually, I don't know how much of that you heard, but there was a moment when I was talking about set pieces, obviously Graham was talking about Vicario there. There was a corner in the first half that he came out for, tried to punch it and didn't really get anywhere near it.
No.
And I think that massively made him within his shell. Spurs can't be conceding. Again, I pin the goal mainly on Romero for losing track of Gabriel rather than Vicario. But as a goalkeeper, you cannot allow yourself to get into a situation where you're conceding a header like that so close inside the 6-yard box. You've got to come and do something. And I think that one in the first half, and like we saw last season a little bit when teams kind of found that weakness in him, he just didn't want to come out and get it. He just didn't want to come out. And I think that's going to end up costing him because he's a good shot stopper. He's good with his feet. He helps us in the build-up. But if teams can really see that that's your blind spot, that's your weakness, you're still going to end up conceding a load of goals.
Can I ask you a question, all of you? Right. Their goalkeeper, how many times did he pass it out to the 2 centre-halves?
Not many.
Biggest pet peeve.
I think maybe one maximum.
Went long.
And, he went long. They got the second ball and they pressed, boom, straight away. They're in our half. We're playing this football where it goes to Romero. Romero passes it to Vicario. Vicario gets the midfield play. He passes it back to Vicario. He passes it to Van de Ven. Van de Ven passes it back. And like we've had 47 touches of the ball. And we ain't out of our area yet. You're like, well, hold on. That ain't working. Try to chip it into Solanke, who's a strong lad. Control it and then play. You're 2/3 up the pitch. I'm not getting. I understand what he's doing. That's his style, but I think we gave a throwing away, a corner away yesterday from our goalie playing it out.
Yeah.
It's something's got to change there. And maybe that's not Ange's is philosophy, but I think players maybe they're on edge as well, getting the ball, receiving the ball now. I don't know, but I'm a bit wary about it now because clubs. Last year he came from Scotland, and when you're in Scotland, you can do all that because Celtic are the best team. The other teams, Rangers, are close second. Other than that, the rest of them are a waste of time. All right, and I don't mean that being rude, but the way they play up there, you can play that. But you're in the Premier League now, the best league in the world. He's had it one season. They found it out. They know how to play you. You've got to change. You've got to change something.
I think the thing is as well, it does put our defenders under a lot of pressure as well, because like you say, we were giving away things too cheaply, throw-ins, corners. If sometimes you just hit it long, it's not predictable then. You don't know what you're going to do. But sorry, also we spoke about Vicario's kind of addition to letting that kind of goal go past him. But I want to talk about Romero because I know Ben's mentioned him. Obviously, there's been a couple of goals this season already that I think Romero's at fault for. What do you kind of put it down to? Do you put it down to, I don't know, the dynamic at the back? Do you think he's just not, his head's not in it? What do you think that kind of is?
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, ever since he's been linked with Real Madrid, I don't know where his head's at. And even yesterday, I think it was a retweet. He retweeted that the club didn't pay for his flight back or something like that, and then something to do with an illness as well. He was maybe ill during the game, but yeah, it's just he gets a. And the thing is, like last season, Romero showed what the defender he could be. He showed that, he wasn't as rash. He got one red card against Chelsea, which, was a bit hefty, but maybe back in the day he could have got away with that sort of tackle, bit old school. But, we thought, he was good at the ball with the ball at his feet. He was at, long range passing and all that, good in the tackle, strong. But I don't know what it is and what you need, and Graham could probably explain this 10 times better than me, being a centre-back as well, is you need your defence. One of those centre-backs has got to be your leader, and I assume it is Romero, considering he's like in this, like he's the third choice captain or whatever it is. You need one of them basically like holding that line and dictating like how high this line goes. So if he keeps running about, and even during the game yesterday, there was moments where he's like, we're trying to score a goal at the end and he's just up top. And I don't know if Aaron just told him to do that or if he's doing it on his own accord. He did it last season, the North London derby, where he actually ended up being the best player in that fixture because he literally was leading from the front. But I just don't understand what's going on with his game, because there were moments yesterday where like he tackled down on the byline and he is showing that class and promise that we all know he can have. But there are just moments where he just has a madness. I don't know. I can't put my finger on why he does it, but you've just got to sometimes in football just do the basics and just help that line, because we rely on Mickey van der Ven all the time, but there's nothing to suggest that could Romero be dropped and Dragusin given a chance? Dragusin was quite good against Newcastle, but yeah, what's that? The mistake against Leicester for the Jamie Vardy goal. There was Newcastle where he was at fault as well. I think he stepped up. And then obviously this one yesterday. So, and they're three different defensive examples. It's not like he's being found out for the same thing. It's just a lack of concentration all around. But yeah, it's hard to know. We're obviously not in the dressing room. You want to assume all these players are still pulling in the right direction. And it just doesn't help the cause when one of your defenders is just, on his holidays or whatever it is.
Well, I think I know what the incident that you said yesterday is. He went walkabout, as I call him, Crocodile Dundee. So he goes walkabout, and he went up front, and I thought, okay, you just got to lump the ball up there. Two big centre half, centre forward, get it up there, get the second balls, get it in behind them. You got a chance. And somebody from the bench waved him to go back. You got 4 minutes to go. I don't think that's going to make a lot of difference, him going back. But, but I do, I agree with what you're saying. I think maybe the Real Madrid thing is on his mind. But he's got to stay here till January at least. So get on and play. That's what I say. And yesterday was a massive game for us. And I think we come up short. They were a better team than us all over the pitch. They're more togetherness there. But we have to change it around. We have big games coming up.
Definitely, we have a lot of strict of them, to be fair. And Ben, I'm going to come to you because obviously you spoke about the goal. I also want to talk about obviously our creative players because there's been a lot of talk about James Maddison in recent weeks, and I think against this North London derby, you really wanted him to set up. For you, do you think he did enough in that game, or do you think it's potentially the way we played, not getting out to the wingers, this, that, and the other?
Bit of both, but I think I don't necessarily think his role in the system suits getting the best out of him. I think he needs to be as close to Solanke or the striker in whichever team that he plays as possible. I think that's where you saw him most effective when he was at Leicester, kind of as out and out number 10. But I think even with that said, I don't think he's doing enough even with that to grab games by the scruff of the neck. Like we've all said it, Rice and Odegaard missing for them. Spurs needed to go and win that midfield battle, which was obviously going to be harder without Basuma. He was obviously a big miss for us as well. But I really wanted Maddison to kind of show up, and I feel like he's not had a moment, a proper moment yet in a Spurs shirt as that kind of maverick number 10 that we've been kind of crying out for since we lost Christian Eriksen, since he went to Inter Milan. I feel like he's not really doing enough to kind of stand up and be counted and show why he should 100% be in the team. Like Sonny said about Romero, James Maddison is a vice captain as well. And I feel like this might sound harsh, but I feel like James Maddison it's like he likes the idea of being at a top club, but I'm not sure whether he's really delivered on that yet. And again, last season, down to the injuries, 100%, he's not looked the same player since then. Injuries can knock your confidence, can make you play within yourself a little bit. And maybe I think he's playing a little bit too deep in this system. Like I said, I think he needs to be closer to Solanke. But then again, when you look at Dejan Kulusevski, who I thought was arguably our best player yesterday, I think Kulusevski, the thing that I love about him, and we've spoken about mentality and belief, self-belief a lot so far in this stream. I think Kulusevski is one of the only attacking players we've got that truly has that when the chips are down for Spurs, which they have been a lot in the last 6 months, he is one of the only players that consistently stands up and tries to do something, tries to make something happen, whether it was that shot at the end, which went just over the bar, whether it was that constant. I think he won more tackles, won more duels, and won more possession back for Spurs than any other player in that first half yesterday. Playing in that number 8 attacking role, his pressing is phenomenal. He leads from the front. I think he has to play. It's just about how you balance out that midfield and that forward line with him in it, because he's not necessarily perfectly suited to being a winger. But I do think that, and I don't want to criticise Maddison too much, because again, I do think part of it is down to the system that doesn't really suit him that much, or certainly doesn't suit him as it was last season when we were playing more of Basuma and Sarr together and Maddison had a bit more license. I do think he's got to do more. I think he's got to grab games by the scruff of the neck more. He wants to get back in the England squad. He's that kind of player. He can be a maverick. He can be a number 10. He can win games on his own, but he's not really doing it at the moment. I think he's been okay to start the season. I thought in the first 3 games he was decent. I thought he was our best player in that first half against Leicester, dictated the game, dictated the whole tempo of it. But we're not seeing enough in the big moments, in the big games, unfortunately, from him. And it's a bit of a problem.
I think for me as well, it's obviously all that hype. I know there's going to be hype on the TV, this, that, and the other. But that interview where he's kind of talking the talk, it wasn't really walking the walk, was he, Sonny? It's just rather frustrating when you see a player kind of say all the right things, but then doesn't put that into action.
I think, like what Ben said there, I think he is. There is moments where I think he is trying too much. He is overthinking it. He is thinking, I want to get back in this England team. But at the moment, he's not good enough to get in that England team. You think of the plethora of midfielders and attacking options Lee Carsley, I nearly said Gareth Southgate, Lee Carsley has at his disposal. He doesn't get anywhere near it. And you're not surprised that he wasn't at the Euros in the summer. But yeah, there's just moments where I'm just like, he needs to be further up the pitch, helping Solanke, because at the moment, Solanke, him, and Son, they just don't seem to be in the same stratosphere at the moment. The link up play between them three, you think it should be dynamic and, creating so many chances for Solanke to mop up and finish off, but there's just nothing really going through him at the moment. And we saw that last season where he was dropping deep and dictating, and he's just like yesterday, he's just on the ball, just pivoting, not taking a chance. And funny enough, on one of my videos I put out earlier, some people were talking about Postecoglou's system. I think they might have been Australian or Celtic fans, and sort of saying that the idea of a Postecoglou system is we're saying about taking risks at the back. It's taking risks up the top of the pitch as well. And yesterday there were so many times where I know Arsenal they did bank it, didn't they? Yesterday they really defended resiliently, but there was no, good efforts on goal, shot wise from outside the area, no dynamic passing in the middle to try and, it's just trying to we couldn't go through the middle. We weren't really sure about going down the wings. We weren't really stretching the play at all. And you just want, there were so many opportunities yesterday where, and I think Solanke had quite a good game in coming back deep and, winning the ball back, and he was pinning Saliba and Gabriel quite well. There was just moments where I'm just like, give it to his feet and see what he can do. And I know he had that chance in the first half that Ben said where he just sort of couldn't it, but we didn't see any other chance where he was fed the ball to really have a shot on goal. So there's a few of them in that side now, and I just think what Ange needs to do is, and this is the thing you can change short term, I know we talk about set pieces, is just maybe shake it up a little bit. Give Bergvall a go, give Archie Gray a go. Brennan Johnson, I feel like there is a good potential player there, but maybe there is time where we've got to shift it up and see that we got a squad now who are full of talented youngsters who we bought for a reason. I just feel and we know they're good. We keep saying Bergvall's good, but he needs given time. Mikey Moore, why has he not been given a shot? And Timo Werner comes on. Towards that end of that game, the frustration of every cross going into the arms of David Raya was just mind-boggling. We need good wingers who can cross the ball and deliver for this striker, because I think people who are already calling out Solanke are just taking it too far, because we've had 2 games and he is still adjusting to this side, and I feel like he will score goals. There should be a recipe for success with him in the side.
I agree with you there, Sonny. I think if you have a look at Johnson, right, and you have a look at Werner, I got back last night to watch the new Wolves Newcastle game. Newcastle's 2 wingers, Gordon, Barnes, they get the ball and they just go for you. They go for your throat. They just in and out, boom, boom, boom. And Barnes scored a wonder goal, right in the top corner, the winner. Sonny yesterday, I don't know if he was knackered or tired. He looked lethargic. He looked, when he got the ball, every time he got the ball, usually one-on-one, he'll have a go at people. He went backwards.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, is it the pressure of him being captain? You have to lead by example. And if you don't, people will jump on your back.
Yeah.
He's been a fantastic player for us. He needs to lead by the front. He needs to, in these games, he needs to step up and go, right, roll your sleeves up, let's get into it. Give me the ball, I'll take him on. Listen, if he'd have took Ben White on 4 or 5 times, Ben White would have brought him down. And then he would have got booked. And then it makes it easier for you. But every time he got the ball, he passed it backwards. And I'm thinking, come on, you need to step up, Sonny. And I was shocked that he didn't get take off yesterday. I thought he would have been taken off. The Agombar, he came on for Brendan Johnson. He's a young kid. I agree with you. I think we have some great young kids. Maybe, yes, they want the right time to put them in,
true.
because it's a big pressure game. But I think they'll all play on Wednesday.
Yeah.
It's a vital game for us on Wednesday, because that is, people say to me, yesterday I was walking around the stadium and, we got to win a trophy. I said, well, if we're going to win a trophy, it's got to be the UEFA Cup. That guarantees Champions League football. That guarantees it. So put all your eggs in that basket, the big ones. Use the other 2 cups, not making 8, 9, 10 changes like he did against Fulham last year. That's not good. Make 2 or 3 changes. Win the first League Cup against Coventry, and then take the next stages. But it's a massive week for us because we have these 2 games, Brentford, and then we're away to Man United, I think. So it don't get any easier.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. And I think that's the thing. I think we're all kind of screaming out for the youngsters to have a go, especially like you said, Graham, when you've got the likes of Sonny not really taking on his man. I mean, Matthew said as well, obviously Graham's on the mark, Sonny was a passion for most of the game. And the thing is, I don't want to get on Sonny because he's got such a high ceiling. But when he's a player of that maturity in this team, you want to see him going at players. And I think I want to come to you, Ben, because obviously we've spoken about players taking on the opposition players. It's not really going down to T at the moment. How do you kind of move around that? Because obviously there's so many opportunities yesterday where I'm like, just shoot, and they're always looking for that perfect pass to score the perfect goal. Do you think Ange is forever drilling this into them? It's got to be in the back of the net, one after so many passes, or do you think it's just they're worried that they're not playing the way Ange wants to play if they just go and express themselves? What do you kind of think the balance is?
I think it mainly comes back to a lack of self-belief. I do genuinely think that, because you look at the Newcastle game and decision making as well when you get into those positions. The Newcastle game, I think we turned the ball over 15 times in their defensive third. And every time we got into the positions where it looked like we could create a chance or score a goal, the wrong pass was made, or we just underhit a pass, or someone wasn't quite in the right position. It's not all clicking at the moment. And I think he's going to have to try different things to make it work. And that's why the Carabao Cup went on Wednesday, Carabag next week, and the Europa League games in general are going to be a good opportunity to freshen things up and to try new things and to get some of these younger players involved who might have that bit more bravery because they've not been playing in the system as long, to say, you know what, no, I'm going to take a risk. And don't get me wrong, I don't think Ange's philosophy when it comes to going forward is all about these kind of rehearsed patterns in terms of, right, we're going to try and get the wingers in behind and cut the ball back low. Obviously, it's a key part to the way he wants to play. A lot of top teams do that. A lot of top teams score a lot of goals from cutbacks from wide positions. Arsenal do it. Man City do it. A lot of top teams do it. But I do think there's maybe something in the fact, and like Sonny said earlier with Mikey Moore, and like we've all just kind of spoken about it. It was disappointing yesterday to see Werner come off the bench. And I was last season when Werner was brought in, I was quite defensive of him because I actually think in terms of the way that we play, I think he can be an asset. The re-signing of him on loan, I'm not sure about, and I don't think he's going to add anything particularly to that attack. He looks like a player that's shot to bits in terms of his confidence as well. And Arsenal were bringing on Ethan Nwaneri for Bukayo Saka with 10 minutes to go, a 17-year-old who, hasn't played a lot of Premier League football. And why, I trust the fact that there's a plan in place for Mikey Moore and players like Will Lancashire. Obviously, Lancashire's out injured at the moment, so he wasn't going to feature. But someone like Mikey Moore, I definitely do trust that there's a development plan in place for him. But he's a player that I think we'd all rather see come off the bench than Timo Werner. Someone that's maybe going to try something, someone that, he come on against Man City and made his debut when he was 16 years old. And look, it was only for 5-10 minutes at the end of the game. But he's a player that's scoring for fun at under 18, under 21 level. Let's just release him. And hopefully he does that on Wednesday. And I think, like I said, the Carabao Cup is a good opportunity to freshen things up generally in attack. But on Wednesday, I would probably still quite like to see some of those same players play. Like I was talking about earlier with Maddison and Solanke, that relationship between your striker, who is obviously, we've got a proper striker now. I mean, in terms of someone who's got an all-round game, who's going to hold the ball up, who's going to win free kicks, who's going to drop in deep, who's going to knit together the play, link things up. That relationship between Maddison and Solanke has to be forged over time, because Maddison is going to be the most he's going to have the most pressure on him to be that main creative outlet for Solanke to supply him. We've got players the likes of Porro, Kulusevski, Udogie, Son, Johnson, who can all supply Solanke. But we saw it over the years with Kane and Dele, with Kane and Eriksen. That relationship between your number 10 and your number 9 is one of the most important on the pitch. So I don't want to totally change things on Wednesday. I think I'd like to see the likes of Bergvall get a go, because I think one thing we've seen with Bergvall, and again, pre-season it's hard to judge, right? But he's an 18-year-old kid who's never played Premier League football before, going on and playing against Bayern Munich in pre-season and looking like he's confident. He'll do anything. He'll receive the ball in the half term. He'll take a risk. He'll get forward. And we saw that against Leicester as well when he came on. He made a difference. So I think I'd like to see it freshened up in that way. But I think to a certain extent, I think we've got to keep trying to forge these relationships on the pitch, but also the cups are a good opportunity to freshen things up, I think.
Definitely. And I'm just hoping that Ange kind of learns his mistakes from last year, because I think we do want to stay at these competitions as long as possible. And Sonny, because we're on obviously this topic of Coventry coming up next, have you got anything to add to what Graham and Ben have said in terms of what you want to see on Wednesday? Because it is a massive week for us, especially this game on Wednesday, I think.
Yeah, I'd like a nice even team, as in a few youngsters in there, but like a few of the main starters as well, just because I feel like that's a good way to integrate youth as well, not just I remember like Harry Redknapp would just chuck all the youth players in for Europa League before you get Champions League and just see it as like just chuck them all in and give them some game time. But no, I think it's good to like mix it up, like start a Mikey Moore, start a Bergvall, but also start, maybe Solanke up top. Good to get him a goal against Coventry, because Coventry aren't, they're no mugs.
They're not even no mugs. They're no mugs.
We saw them against Manchester United in the semi-final last year. They should have won. They should have been at that Wembley final instead of them, and then they could have given City a game. But, and there's the omens. Obviously, the history between Spurs and Coventry is one that's quite famous. I won't go into that. But, yeah, I just feel like it's just one of those fixtures, because as I'm sitting here now, I'm getting messages sent on a group chat of like the teams that Ange has beaten since he's arrived. And apparently, like, even though he's beat United and Villa and Brighton, like it's like Luton twice and Burnley, and even though these teams made up the Premier League, apparently that's not good enough. And I know we should go out, it's not good enough that he hasn't won a London derby at all and all that, but these are the games where you can get the fan base in general back on your side. You can really put a marker down and just not be called Spursy and whatnot. And the players have got to turn up. The players have got to show what they're about, because there's all this chat about, and going back to Maddison. Maddison's done a lot of interviews saying about how he wants to bring his A game, and it's like you got to just do it on the pitch sometimes. Like there's no point, you can talk about it till you're blue in the face off of the pitch, but sometimes you've really just got to turn up on it. And even when you're watching that game yesterday, and like Gary Neville on commentary is just continuously saying like he can see it from the gantry about set pieces, or we can all see it. It's just it's these players have got to take some accountability, and it's just knowing that like it's the strange thing with Ange and the youth policy, because he has got a good track record, but we haven't seen too much of it yet in his tenure. I know he's made the general side, but I'm talking about youth that's our youth from the academy. So it would just be good that we need something to be positive about, and if we can cheer like one of our own, I think that's gonna you just need those moments in the season to really pin your hopes on, and hopefully stop if Maddison gets a goal tomorrow, if he starts, or if Solanke gets a goal, you've stopped the argument of £65 million striker hasn't scored yet. It's silly things where, and it is maybe just a football Twitter thing that you just need to quiet down. But, even after yesterday, you lose 1-0 to Arsenal and everything's gone into meltdown. And I know it's the derby. And like even I had a massive debate with my dad on FaceTime at full time about the direction Spurs are going in. And that's what it does. But I just keep thinking like, I just, I'm glad it's not Conte. I'm glad it's not Mourinho, because, the toxicity back then was something on another level.
And I think I will actually bring up, obviously, the press interview that Ange did after the game, because it kind of leads on quite nicely. And Graham, obviously, we've had before managers like Jose and Conte that are very cryptic, whereas you could see that Ange yesterday was very frustrated with the result. And yes, okay, it was a little bit rude to the interviewer, but it does show you that Ange is here, wants to make a difference. It's just not going to happen as soon as we all kind of want it to.
No, I don't know if he was rude, but I think the lady she asked a question, and then when he went to answer it, she asked another question and another question. Well, let him answer the first question, and then you can get to the second and third. You can't just say this, and he's gonna. It's just ridiculous. But that's the way the press are. But I agree with what Sonny said. I think tomorrow, he will make, and this is me, I think he will make 9 changes.
Wow, we.
And I think that is something that, or not tomorrow, sorry, Wednesday. I think that is suicidal for me, because you have to, if he's going to win a trophy, this is going to be a good chance, this one, because teams do underplay their players. Man City, they play 3 or 4 or 5 changes, but I just think I'm not sure if he'll change the goalkeeper, because I think the goalkeeper needs work. I think the right back will be changed. I think 2 centre halves will be changed. And I think he maybe will stick with Udogie, but Udogie's been 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 changing injury wise. He's been carrying a little bit. I think the 3 midfield players will be changed. I think he arrests Sonny. Maybe Solanke will play, and I think he'll play Odegaard on the right, or on the left, one of them. But I think there will be changes, and I'm worried, because I think Coventry are a decent side, and they proved that, like Sonny said, against Man United. You have to take each game seriously. Me personally, I would go for the UEFA Cup, because that's the route to the Champions League for us this season. I'm not saying we won't make the top 4, but we got a long way to go at the moment. But we can't say he's not a decent manager, because last year he did fantastic for us. But I think this year the clubs have found out how to play him. You have to change, and we'll wait and see. He'll live and die by what he does, and we love the football he plays. He's a lovely, lovely man to talk to. I'll always back him. I think, because he's give us our Tottenham back. But now sometimes you do have to change, and the coaches need to work harder on their crossing, because we get to the byline. I don't know if you ever go on to the Spurs website and you watch the training, and you get coaches, don't look, just whack it across. Well, I'm not being rude. Defenders are not that bad. It's okay whacking across when there's no defenders, but sometimes you have to look up and say, what's the better ball? And I think we carry on our training onto the pitch, but all of a sudden there's 4 defenders there, and in training there's no defenders. So it is frustrating, but we're Tottenham. We're Tottenham through and through, and we're staying. So.
Yeah.
Let's say we're so bloody used to it. But Ben, obviously, that going back to that interview as well, obviously he was talking about winning trophies, and not obviously she said something like, you usually win trophies. Like, no, I do win trophies in my set. And I think a lot of fans have kind of had a split kind of conversation about it, whether it's being arrogant or whether he's being delusional. How did you kind of sit back and take it when he said those words?
He backs himself. I think. Look, he was maybe a bit rude to the interviewer, like Graham said. But when you're a manager that, like you said, in that situation where she was kind of constantly butting in while he was trying to answer the question, that naturally, as a human being, you would get your back up a little bit. Should he have been maybe a bit more diplomatic with that? Maybe. But at the same time, I feel like with Ange, one, he can't do right for doing wrong a lot of the time. And I feel like his methods are consistently being questioned. He's always got this label of, it worked. It worked in Scotland, it worked in Australia, it worked in Asia, but you're not going to do it in the Premier League. And that remains to be seen. We don't know that yet. It might not work. He might not deliver on that trophy. But what do you want? Do you want a manager that's going to come out and say, I maintain the fact that I think he's got, from what I've seen at Tottenham, I think he's got a better winning mentality than what we saw from Conte and Jose Mourinho during their time at Spurs, because he's being ambitious enough to say it. And like Graham said, he'll live and die by it. If he doesn't deliver it, he'll hold his hands up and say, well, I couldn't do it. But it's better to say that and put that statement out there and be held accountable. A lot of managers, I feel like, and a lot of players as well, say things sometimes where they're not going to commit. They're not going to put things out there which they actually have to be held accountable for. But he's been in the game long enough to know that he's been around a long, long time, and he has delivered. He has delivered, whether it's in his second season or in his first season at Celtic or wherever it was. He's making a promise to these Spurs fans that he might not be able to keep, but he's comfortable with that. And I rate that. I like that from him because he's prepared to put his neck on the line and be ambitious. And one of the things that Spurs fans are crying out for is ambition, whether that's in terms of the way that we play, whether that's in terms of decisions that the board make, in terms of transfers, etc. At least your manager's showing it. He's got in saying, I want to win things and I believe I'm going to be successful. And the players clearly believe in him as well. I know the results haven't been there quite yet this season, but I find it a little bit almost like Southgate at England, not necessarily in terms of the style of play, but there was always calls from England fans to get rid of him. We need a manager that knows how to win, etc., etc. Play better football, get the best out of these players. But the players clearly loved Southgate. They were clearly bought into what he wanted to do, and he nearly got us over the line. And hopefully Postecoglou does make that step for us. Do I believe that he's going to do it this season? I don't know. I hope he does. And like Graham says, I'd love Spurs to go for the Europa League, especially to win another European trophy would be fantastic. And that would be a real achievement. But then again, if Ange goes and wins the Carabao Cup, it'd be great for us. But there will always be that patronising pat on the head to say, yeah, well, it's only the League Cup. It's only the League Cup. It doesn't matter. It's silverware. It's a trophy. It's for us fans. It's a day out at Wembley and us win the cup, which is something that we haven't done for so long. So I feel like we can't win sometimes as fans in terms of things that we say. And I don't think Ange can win either. Like I said, maybe he could have handled that situation better, but he's a manager that is consistently questioned. And I think patronised to a degree as well from some sections of the media. I get that. I've seen a lot of stuff today from like neutral or rival fans saying that why doesn't Ange get the same level of criticism that maybe someone like Ten Hag gets or other managers get? I feel like he does. I feel like he does a lot of the time. I feel like
100%.
Just because we're quite defensive of him because we believe in the way that he wants to play, and we watch Spurs every week. We see that there are positives to be had from the first few games, and naturally, other people aren't going to watch Spurs all the time, and they're just going to judge it based on the results. I feel like he's been getting a lot of flack from the media or neutral fans or rival fans this season, so I don't quite buy into that, but I feel like sometimes, I feel like he can't win, and I feel like it's as a result of your pedigree and your quality as a manager constantly being questioned. He's just coming out to bat for himself, and I respect that. He's been in the game a long time, and he deserves to be, I think, treated with a bit more respect himself, personally.
Go on, Sonny.
Yeah, can I make a couple of points? I just feel like our club motto is to dare is to do, and by saying that, he's literally living up to it. And I think, and I think with Ange as well, when he talks about us, when he talks about the future, he says we, he says us. Whereas Conte, he was like, when he got top four, he was like, I am not used to this. I'm used to winning trophies. I think what Ange says is when he says like, I usually win in my second season, he's not saying always silverware. He means like that next stage of like development and and like even like you talk to Celtic fans, Australia fans, there'll be a point in this season where it will click, and you can see like we're in those moments of like in 3 games we've dominated possession, we've had so many chances, and we're just a little bit naive in areas that just need to be tweaked. And I just get a bit sick of some of the lazy arguments of maybe like just some people just going, he needs a plan B, and it's like, well, maybe he hasn't got plan A sorted yet. Maybe he's still like I'm in an eye in like what to do with plan A. And finally, I mean, I've seen people, like a lot of people, I don't even know whether to call it a lot of people who are basically asking for Ange out, and they offer up suggestions of managers. And I saw one person say to me, well, why don't we just sack him? And why don't we bring in Tuchel or Amorim? Well, there's two flips of the sword there. So Tuchel, when you were moaning that you didn't like Conte or Mourinho, negative football, which is that's what it would be. Or Amorim, who is still an unknown entity from another league that we don't know if he'll translate to the Premier League. It's like we wanted this project, we wanted this painful rebuild, and now we're going through it. People aren't happy, and we can sit here all day and blame Levy and blame Beyonce concerts and all that sort of rubbish. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. We did spend money this summer. We bought some higher prospects. Maybe we didn't get a 6, maybe we didn't get another versatile defender, but it's not going to happen in one summer. Like the way we operate as a football club is we just go around it by the book. We're not Manchester City who just pump in, endless amount of money and get charged between 115 and 30 FFP charges. We're not Chelsea who are just going to go and sign every Tom, Dick and Harry. Like this is how we operate. And I just feel like what we need to do as a Spurs fan base now is not just get on the backs of the players and get on the back of the manager. It's actually back this team, and it has to be one unit. We can't just be at war, one with each other and two with the players, because I just don't think that's healthy. And you see it in other football clubs where they're just going at each other's throats. And you do look at United and you think all the criticism that's been labelled at United since Ten Hag has been there, but he's done two things. He's brought 2 trophies in, and that can shut people up. That can just stop that moment of just like, I've got a Man United fan. Whenever I bite back, he just sends a picture of Ten Hag holding the trophy, and I've got nothing to reply to that because I've only seen 1 trophy in my lifetime. So
well, you should have been watching the 80s.
Mate, I've just got my dad telling recollections of your career, Graham.
We've got the DVDs. Can I just?
Oh, thanks.
Can I just make a point as well on what Sonny said as well? Because I feel like I think it's quite rare, actually, in terms of what you just said, that people are actually offering up solutions. I feel like there's been so much stuff the last 24 hours of sack Ange now. Ange needs to go. Let's get rid of him. I don't feel like I'm seeing enough people coming with solutions, and the ones that are coming with solutions, when you talk about like people like Tuchel, I agree with all of the reasons that you've kind of just labelled there to maybe not go for someone like that. Trouble kind of follows Tuchel around everywhere as well. It's always messy when he ends up leaving somewhere. It never goes as smoothly as you'd expect it to. And also, like you said, the negative football for a start. I just feel like not enough people, whether it's, and I totally understand why people have got criticisms of Postecoglou and Daniel Levy and Enoch. I totally get it, because where you're the manager or the chairman or the owner or whatever, you put yourself on a pedestal where you are there to be criticised. That's your job. If you don't deliver, criticism is fair. Like, I love Ange, and I do genuinely think we're going in the right direction. I think we're playing the right way. I think there are certain things that we need to tweak, but I think we're generally going in the right direction. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to criticise him. And these people are there to be criticised. But I just don't feel like I feel like I see way too many people come out and say, let's just do this. Let's get Daniel Levy out. Let's get Ange sacked. He's got to go. But what's the solution? How do we move forward? Because we can't keep going in a cycle where we have a manager for 2 years. And bear in mind, Mourinho and Conte are notoriously short-term managers. Their shelf life at whatever clubs they've been at is quite short.
They were never going to be backed, were they? Like, people say like they weren't backed like Ange, but Ange just wanted to stay, whereas Conte and Mourinho were, as you say, short-term.
Ange wants to commit to a project. And I know it's hard because we're talking off the back of a North London derby defeat, but we need to learn from our mates down the road, Arsenal. We need to learn from them because, like you said earlier, Sonny, like some of the stuff that Arsenal fans were saying at that time under Arteta, a lot, even you go back to when Jurgen Klopp first went to Liverpool. If our fan base acted like that towards what Liverpool fans were seeing with Jurgen Klopp in his first year, they would have got him sacked as well. But you have to believe in the manager's vision and a long-term project. And that's what Spurs have done with some of the younger signings as well, of course. We wouldn't have seen that under other managers. They're clearly buying into him. They clearly believe in him. He's clearly not going anywhere. And like you said, it's because he wants to commit and he wants to bring success. It's always we, like you said earlier. It's never me. It's always this idea of doing everything together. So, please feel free to, if you do want him to be sacked, what's the answer? Because I'm not hearing or seeing enough of that.
There isn't one. I think that's the thing. It's a lot of hot air and moaning, but not a lot of actual doing. But no, preach it.
I got blamed yesterday for the game. At the ground.
How?
Well, it just said you should go up and see Mr. Levy, and I said, "Oh, it's my fault, is it?"
Oh dear.
Wrong person to tell me.
Yeah, everyone wants someone to blame. That's the problem, isn't it? Sometimes you can't.
That's the big problem.
Yeah, and you can't get on some. Like yesterday, we didn't do enough to win that game. We probably didn't. But again, Arsenal are the best defensive side in the league, so they're not excuses, but there are rational reasons to suggest why that was going to be a very difficult game for Spurs to win. So, and it always hurts more because it's a derby, and Ange's record in these games isn't that great. But again, this kind of how Arsenal have cultivated that winning mentality and that resoluteness, that comes with time. That all comes with time. And unfortunately, people are quite impatient, especially in football. So, and I get why Spurs fans would feel like that because we feel like we've been in however many rebuilds, etc. But I think if you're going to invest in one, this is the one.
Stick to it. Yeah. Stick to it.
Agreed. Can't keep switching all the time. It's rather frustrating. And the thing is, like we've all kind of said, he's using the term "we," and that is a win for me in the sense that we've gone through managers, like you both all said, that are always I. To have someone that's we and committed to the club is surely that's more than what you want, and the results will come their way. But before we go, because I do need to let Jay in because he's going to kill me because he's downstairs, I do want to quickly talk about Brentford as well at the weekend. So Graham, I'm going to come to you first. Obviously, we need to get back onto winning track.
4-0.
Get Coventry out of the way and go for it.
Love it.
4-0.
Love it.
Love it.
You know, I think we see how we go Wednesday. I think Wednesday's a tougher game. But saying that, you know, Brentford have done well in the last few games. We went to Liverpool, they lost 2-0, but played very well. I'm looking forward to that game. I think the players, I think it's, forget about Ange, I think it's down to the players now.
Great.
They need to stand up and be counted on everything they do. You know, it's no good going out on that pitch, and if you don't give your 100% and you don't do the best of your ability, then you're not, you know, Ange's got enough players now to say, well, you ain't playing the next game. And that's, you know, me personally, I've been a coach all around the world and in football, and in my day, we never changed a lot of players because we didn't have a lot of players. We only had, when I played, there was only one sub. You know, now they get, I think there's 200, isn't there, or something like that. You know, that's the way it goes. You look at the bench, and there's like 8 or 10 players on the bench, and you know, it's just mad. But I think each player should say, "Am I given enough for this football team?" And look at themselves. But going on the Brentford one, I'm really confident. I'm more nervous about Wednesday.
Yeah, me too.
Because of the team we're going to put out. But I think next week, yeah, we'll be ready. The fans, the big thing is the fans stick with the team. You got to stick with it. You got to get behind them. I thought the noise yesterday in parts of the game was really, really good. You know, I don't like the music at the end of the game. I think it's awful. I think we had a brilliant music when we used to come off last season. It got the crowd up. They stayed. They sang.
Yeah.
They got behind the manager. I don't know what this music is. I've never heard of it. So, you know, it's a waste of time. It's not in the 80s, is it? So, but no, let's get behind the team. The players have to come up now and be counted.
And the fact that it's at home as well, Sonny, again, it's another boost to get a win under our belt, move on, get past the North London derby and start setting the record straight. Because I think it's 4 points in 4 games at the minute. And while you answer that, I'm just going to go and let Jay in.
I will say one thing about the music. They did after Everton. They played "Sunny" by Boney M. So, and obviously, I'm a really big fan of that song for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, with Brentford, I mean, Visser's going to be injured, which I mean, we're at that stage now of praying for injuries to certain individuals. But Brentford have notoriously been quite a tricky side for us. Like last year was a nice backwards and forwards. I think it ended 3-2.
Yeah.
But, there was that banter between Malpay and Maddison. The year before, they beat us towards the end of the season as well. So obviously, you haven't got Tony now. But yeah, I feel like this is the game. Like, I'm glad it's at home. Brentford, I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't watched the highlights back, but listening to TalkSport of the commentary, they started very strongly against City, gave them a really good game. Could have been 2-3, 4-0 up by the sounds of it, but City have something that we're trying to get, which is, soaking up early pressure and then can go and win a game 2-1 and hold on to it. So obviously they're different. It's under Pep Guardiola, Haaland and all that, you could say. But yeah, this is the perfect fixture. And then you play United away. So you've just got to build up some momentum, build up some points, get a win in the cup. I know it's easier said than done, but I think I've got to echo what Graham says. I know we can all sit here, and me and Ben are a big fan of like analysing it really in detail. But then you've got to also like look at the flip side of sometimes you've just got to have that belief and have that, old school mentality of, think of the fans in the stadium, think of what it all means to them. And yeah, just bring it all full circle. Because, I just think, there were moments, I mean, we talk about people questioning Ange and all that, but there were moments yesterday where the fans are singing his name.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a small pocket of Ange out, maybe 5-10% of the fan base, if you can put a number to it at all. But I just feel like you've got to, just talk with your feet. Really, like against Everton, we went out there, and Everton, I know they've been absolutely woeful this season, no points, but we went out there and put them to the sword, and that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
Just put
Agreed.
a team to the sword, and when we get it to click, like you look at Leicester, you look at Newcastle, we battered them. You've just got to, it's a better issue to have. Like, I could think of worse issues to have in games. And like, if you're creating chances, it's just that final ball sometimes, just decision making. Brennan Johnson did it last year. There was moments where he gets to the byline, he gets to the edge of the area, and he goes for a looping cross instead of a low driven one, and vice versa. It's just, that is part of development. And I like to believe that Ange is the perfect coach to develop that sort of, tactic and style, and just taking those risks. And, and I'll be honest, and we haven't mentioned it, I think Basuma was a bit of a miss yesterday.
Yeah,
I feel like,
100%.
I feel like, I know he comes under stick, and I know he, obviously he got into a little bit of trouble recently as well, but he's the perfect player to play that 6. I think Bentancur obviously might face a ban as well, but Bentancur, there's something not right with him at the moment either. I don't know if he's still not fit, or just can't really play the 6. He's not strong enough, or good enough in those tight spaces. But he just seems to give, it becomes an issue in that midfield when he's not there, especially as we didn't sign anyone in the summer. But yeah, I'm not going to make a score prediction yet. I'll see how I feel about after Wednesday.
No, you're all right. You're all good. But Ben, how are you feeling? Are you feeling the same as it? Get Wednesday out the way, and then hopefully Brentford will kind of be a breeze.
Yeah, I think like Graham and Sonny have said, I think Wednesday is a bigger game right now for Spurs, because I think, like I said, with what happened in the League Cup last season with Fulham, and the fact that Ange is, fans care the most about derby games and cup competitions as well. If you go out in the cup to a team that you shouldn't be going out to, or if you're not beating, you're not getting the better over Arsenal or Chelsea or Arsenal, Chelsea or West Ham, that's what ultimately fans will judge you on. So if we go out on Wednesday, there is going to be quite an ill feeling starting to really, really brew, I think. So that is a real opportunity to kind of shut out a lot of the noise, shut up a lot of the criticism, and then go and do your thing on Saturday against Brentford. Because a bit like Everton, if we get an early goal against Brentford, I think we win that one fairly comfortably. They caused City a lot of problems on Saturday, but equally in that second half, Erling Haaland could have had 3, 4, 5, 6. So there will be chances for Spurs if we're able to open them up, which I think we will be. Last year, they did make it very difficult for us in that first half. I remember they went 1-0 up and really sat in. They wasted time.
He's done it again.
Oh,
He's on full flow as well.
It's always when he's saying his best point.
Oh,
did I freeze again?
Yeah.
Oh, here he
he's
is.
back. He's back.
That's his new nickname, Ben. Frozen.
Frozen.
No, but yeah, they made that difficult for us last year. They managed the game, but Ange made changes and we beat Brentford. So I've got no doubt if we go and get an early goal on Saturday, we should hopefully brush them aside like we did with Everton. But I'm intrigued to see what's going to happen on Wednesday. I'm looking forward to it, but it's a big game, yeah.
That'd definitely be the big one. But no, you know what, guys? It's been amazing tonight to have that little therapy session against Arsenal and look ahead to the rest of the week. We'll go around the room and say our goodbyes and thank yous. Now, Graham, I'm pretty sure everybody knows where to find you, but I'm going to let you say where they can find you anyway.
Tottenham Stadium, bloody working.
Yeah.
Pulling the pants.
Being blamed for... yeah.
No, listen, I'm around. You can... go on my Twitter at Graham. I think it's Graham Roberts 4. So I'll talk to anybody. If they want to be sensible, I'll talk to anybody. I don't want people coming on and having a slag and all that. I don't need it. But I really enjoyed your show. I love coming on here, Hollie. So thank you for the invite.
No, thank you. Like I say, it's always great to have you on, Graham, especially given yours, obviously centre-back kind of perspective as well. I do really appreciate it when we've got the likes of Romero, like you say, wandering and not having his brain switched on at times. But it's been great to have you again, Graham. And Sonny, it's been awesome to have you too. Where can everybody find you?
Thank you very much. I want to say I wish I was in my normal studio because I've got a nice signed Graham Roberts shirt, and I also bumped into Glenn Hoddle the other week at a golf club. So two absolute legends I've met met virtually, but in recent weeks. But yeah, I haven't got my nice Holston shirt to show off for it. But yeah, Sonny Talk Spurs on YouTube. Type that into the box, the search box, or just Sonny Snelling on Twitter. I also work for TalkSport. If you want to hear that on air on .com or YouTube or anywhere, you can see me on there as well.
But do you get any time to do anything else?
I don't have a life, and my girlfriend's currently sat upstairs wondering what I'm probably doing half the time. But
Oh, bless you, Sonny. Thank you again for coming on. And as well, Ben, it's been awesome to have you on too. Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, absolute pleasure. I feel a bit better now after that. I feel a bit better about yesterday after that. But yeah, no, YouTube, you can find me, Ben Bowman, TikTok as well, and Twitter. And so, yeah, really enjoyed doing this as always.
No, thank you guys. Like I say, the show's only as good as it is because of my guests. So I do really appreciate all of you taking the time to come on. And thank you to everybody as well that's in the chat, that's been watching along, that's going to rewatch this, listen to this on audio, all of the good stuff. Do really appreciate it. And like I said, one more time, go check out the tabletop. I am still doing the giveaway. We'll be announcing new women's on the 30th of September after we dissect the Man United game. So make sure you go check them out. And like we always say, regardless of what's going on, until next time, come on, you Spurs.